You're listening to the Loving Your Own Soul podcast, and I'm your host, Britt. Guided by my own intuition, my intention is to deliver genuine conversations centered around health and wellness, spirituality, self-expression, and culture. In this space, I will provide you with real-life stories, theories, and inspiring perspectives to help you uncover and tap into your own true potential. I'm so grateful you've chosen to tune in with me on this mindful exploration to living a more fluid life through a deeper connection to the soul. Now let's dive into today's journey. Hello and welcome. I'm Britt, your podcast host and holistic wellness coach, and I'm so grateful that you have chosen to tune in with us here today. Today's episode is such a fun one. It is with one of my good friends, Kate, who is a founder of Basic Girl Co., which is her own company that she started a couple years ago, and it is an all-natural, handmade skincare company, and she just has some of the best products. But aside from all the wonderful things that she's created and just how intentional she is with her company, she is also just such an intentional individual. She's so sweet. She has a heart of gold, and yeah, I just love her. I'm so grateful for our connection that actually happened a couple years ago online, and we have just remained friends ever since. And I just think it's so interesting with just kind of the world we live in this virtual community. And I don't know about all of y'all who are listening, but I have just developed so many true and close relationships in this virtual community and space who are all real people, of course, but a lot of us have never actually met physically, yet the connections that we've created and bonded over have just been so true and real, such as my one with Kate, and I can truly call her a good friend. And yeah, it's just cool. It's so interesting. But anyway, back to today's episode. Today's conversation is so fun. It's truly just like one of those catching up with a good friend. And yeah, you guys are going to love it. There's so many tidbits in here for everyone. But before we jump into it, I really do just want to riff a little bit about Kate's company, Basic Girl. She will get into all the details in this episode, so I will leave those to her. But from personal experience, I will say that these products are so good. You guys know me. You know I love trying natural companies and really try to work with almost only all natural products in my personal life and what I choose to especially put on my skin, whether it is my bath soaks in the bath, my skincare, lotions, lip balms, all the things. And I will tell you that Basic Girl is the real deal. Kate goes into just her ingredients and everything there. So there's the proof in this episode. But I personally am obsessed with her lip balm. I was just telling her I recently, as many of you know, I was in Costa Rica in early April, and my lip had gotten sunburned from surfing and just being out in the water and doing things. I always wear sunscreen, of course, but my lip had taken a bad sunburn a couple years ago, and it always seems to kind of come back. And then we'll get kind of a little like chapped after the fact. But when I got home, I put on Kate's lip balm, and I kid you not, within 24 hours, my lip was a completely different animal, never actually ended up peeling, which, sorry, TMI, if this is grossing anyone out, but just real life. We've all been there with, whether it's lips or different body parts that have suffered from time in the sun, and not really suffering, I shouldn't say. But anyway, her lip balm though, my lips really just completely went back to normal in like 48 hours, totally, I would say. But I noticed the difference in 24 hours, and I've always loved her products, but I told her, I was like, oh my God, this is wild. I've never had this happen. So just something fun for you guys. But yeah, she makes bath scrubs, bath soaks. Oh, and she has a wonderful face scrub too that I've been using recently, and my face literally is baby soft and smoother than ever after. It's just, yeah, it's all self-care, good vibes, intentionally made. It is the best. I will let Kate get into it, and we talk about so many other fun topics on this episode, but I did just want to make sure to just give a proper tribute to her company, Basic Girl, because she has truly done such a wonderful job with it, and I cannot wait to see her grow. And equally, the products benefit you, the individual, is kind of also why I'm talking about it, because I love them. And as you all know, when I love things, I equally love to share them out there. But what is also special, because Kate is so sweet, is that for all of you listeners and this beautiful community, she is currently offering 15% off your order of Basic Girl products when you use the code SOUL15 at checkout, and that is SOUL15 for 15% off. And she's also going to throw in a free lip balm with your order, simply because she knows that those are my favorite and knows that you all are going to love those as well. You can find her over on Etsy. If you go to etsy.com slash shop/basic girl co, and you will find Kate and all of her wonderful products. But I think that is pretty much it. I think we should go ahead and jump into today's just total soulful conversation with Kate, and I will let y'all learn all about her. Well, Kate, welcome to the Loving Your Own Soul podcast. I'm so excited to have you.
I know. I feel like it's been a long time coming. I've been seeing it for a while. So I feel like this is just perfect timing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy to think that you and I originally connected 2 years ago. And since that original connection, I was married a couple months after that. We both kind of had similar beach weddings and things like that. But then you also are now a mom, coming up on almost your 1 year, and a nurse and an entrepreneur with Basic Girl. I mean, you just have so much going on, but in such a good way though. You seem to just handle and balance all of it. So I'm so excited to kind of jump into your story and everything today.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely juggling all of it. That's for sure. I did just make a switch with my job, which is exciting because I'm working a little bit more of a consistent schedule as a fertility nurse. I work at a fertility clinic. So now I can focus, and it's during the week, so I can focus a little bit more on Basic Girl on the weekends, planning on being at a local farmer's market in the summer with Basic Girl. So I just need more scheduled times with everything. Cool. So I can prioritize what I need to do, what I want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. How has everything been going with Basic Girl? I personally, your bath soaks and your scrubs, and just, it is so intentionally made and they're so incredible. But how has all that been going, especially with the pandemic and new to motherhood as well?
Yeah, so it's a lot. So when I first started Basic Girl, it was super based on intuition. Everything was just kind of channeled through. It all flowed so easily. I feel like I was able to create 6 months of work almost just in a couple of weeks. I don't know if you felt like that, where just paying, you just get this crazy energy that just is shooting right through you, and it's super easy.
Totally. It almost downloads into you, and then it's
totally
just
does.
Time doesn't exist. It's crazy.
And if you have the energy, you're I gotta get it all down. I have to execute it. It's just, you gotta go. So, and then I kind of was dealing with some blocks, one of them being pregnant with Olivia, and just feeling a lot of my energy was going toward growing a baby and trying to take care of myself physically the best I could while I was pregnant with her. So it was weird. I kind of had a block with that, just my creative energy. And I struggled with it because I didn't really understand why. I was a little bit hard on myself. And then COVID happened. So it was just kind of a very confusing time. So I was just kind of trying to be easy on myself, just trying to, look inward, more meditate, just kind of trust the universe and all the timing. And now I would say over the last couple months, my energy is back. I finally feel like my daughter is in a place where my time and energy can kind of be divided between Basic Girl, her being a wife, nurse, etc. So yeah, I'm really just ready to take that energy and step it up a notch.
Yeah. How was that experience, kind of just with the difference in your own energy, and then stepping into, well, with COVID and then stepping into motherhood and kind of having to just kind of put basic girl, maybe down a couple notches on your priority list
I think
emotionally? Was that hard?
yeah, it's hard. And it's almost like you're almost disappointed in yourself. That's how I felt, at least. I was like, why am I doing this? I didn't really understand why. And I was just having like this, creative block. And then I was like, well, maybe I just need more consistency with things. So it has taught me a lot. I am learning that I do need to get just kind of like some protocols in place. And I'm like such like not a rule follower, and I like hate policies and stuff. So it's like a
Yeah.
little bit tricky for me to do the business side of Basic Girl. I'm like, I just want to create all day and like do this and that and flow. But I'm just trying to have a little more consistency. I feel like consistency is key, just to kind of keep that fire burning. Whereas, it was such a crazy flame and then it just dwindled out before. And I feel like, I don't know if you've ever felt like this, but when you put something to the side, the longer you have like been away from it, it makes it even harder to go back to it.
Yes, so much
So
harder. And it like
yeah.
lingers in the back of your head too, taking up
Yes.
space, but you're like, I can't do
Yeah,
it.
you're like, I know it's there, but I don't know what to do and how. And so I'm just like, I was making sense of that, and it does make sense. And I feel like it's almost like my responsibility just to kind of like step up and carve out that time and make it organized. And like I said, have those protocols so then it's easier and I know what to do when, just have it a little more organized.
Yeah, makes so much sense. When I would love to know, kind of back to the very beginning of Basic Girl, what was your kind of intention and your why behind wanting to start this type of company?
Yeah, so I feel like there's a couple things. One of it is just working, in the healthcare field. I feel like I've always been very giving, caring, always trying to help people, make them feel good. And then on the other side of that, I've always been a beauty junkie and product junkie. I mean,
Yeah.
everything, and when like teenage years to early 20s was like, clean and clear everything, and what else? Neutrogena, just anything to like burn my skin off and
Yeah,
burn my pimples away. Try all of them up. I'm like, wonderful. Sounds good.
I know. Literally would do everything. And then
Yeah,
put
like
that
leave
like
my skin
nasty
like,
chapstick on. What was
yes,
it? Smackers?
yes,
Yeah.
lip smack,
Yes. Lip smackers, I think.
lip
Yeah.
smackers, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, all of that stuff. And I was like, the more red and the more like burn I get on my skin, the better. And it wasn't working. None of it. I still struggle with adult acne, and a lot of it's hormonal stuff too. And I definitely have had in the past, and a little bit still lingering, like PCOS type symptoms. So one of my girlfriends who was living out in California introduced me. She was using like a very, very basic skin regimen someone had recommended to her, and I started trying it and it worked. And it was oils and different kinds of things where I've always had the mentality of, oh, oil's going to make you break out. So I was nervous and a little hesitant, but I mean, it was crazy the results that I was having. And then, you start looking at the ingredients. It's so nice when there's just 6 ingredients and you can read all of them. And then I'm thinking like, oh, wait, I think I have all of these downstairs in my kitchen. And I've always loved creating things. Like I've always been mixing things up. I've always just had that kind of like artsy energy where I've just like always wanted to try to make things myself, face masks, all of that. So I got down in my kitchen, started mixing things up with doing some research as well, and realized, oh my gosh, this stuff is easy. It's so basic, which Basic Girl, there you go.
I love the name, by the way.
The simpler the better. Yeah, it's so funny, because it is like, oh, Basic Girl, wears the Uggs, drinks the Starbucks, goes to brunch with her girlfriends, but it's also the girl who doesn't need anything but simple products in her life, family, friends, etc.
I love it. It's like two meanings to the word
Yes,
for
yes,
sure.
it's a little fun twist. So yeah, I started making my own things. I have always been obsessed with bath, so that's kind of how the whole bath product started. And I do some face stuff as well that I make, but I haven't really put any of that out there just yet. But yeah, the baths, I was like loving them. I was loving the scrubs I was making. So then I just started sharing them just organically as Christmas gifts with family, friends who also enjoyed them. That had been for a couple of years until I really built up the courage to then get on Etsy and start selling there and trying to build social media,
Yeah.
market, all of that fun stuff.
All the things that then come with trying to build a
Yes,
business.
a website creating, design, all the stuff that I do not know how to do. That's
And
also been a
packaging
struggle.
too. I'm always so impressed with actual product makers because you have to go through packaging and just sourcing your ingredients. And I mean, there's just so much more to it than,
Yeah,
myself. I have an online business as an entrepreneur working with individuals, but I'm not creating physical products. So always
yeah,
so impressed by you and just the
yeah.
creativity that comes on the back end with it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You think you're like, okay, I have this product. That's where initially my mind thinks it ends. And then I'm like, okay, how do I safely get it to, wherever it needs to be across the US? It's not always easy, but definitely pivoting. Well, and another thing too, just side note with COVID, all of the shortages on everything. Oh my gosh, I need gloves and whatever else to make the products and keep them safe and clean. And packaging has been very limited. So it's been tough, but definitely learning to pivot, definitely learning that it's okay to reframe things and revamp. Even if it's already out one way, it can still change and it can still work.
Yeah, definitely. For anyone who's not familiar with your products in particular, I'd love to know just kind of the simple ingredients that you do include in them and maybe some of the benefits or kind of the why behind them.
Yeah, so I feel like with the bath stuff that I make, which is a bath soak and then the bath scrub, a body scrub is mainly detox. So with the bath scrub, you're exfoliating all of those dead skin cells. So that can be great in the summertime when, you have like an extra little layer of dead skin cells when you're out tanning or doing whatever and just kind of need a little exfoliation. And then same in the winter, we also have kind of that dry skin, that extra little layer. And then it also has all of essential oils, so all natural, organic. And the oils, along with some carrier oils, really help lock in that moisture and provide that aspect as well. So I love like when I am taking a bath with the bath soak or even using the bath scrub, I'm like, okay, I don't even have to use moisturizer after because my skin is already like kind of locked in with that oil. So it's kind of like a double whammy with that. And then lip balm, which I'm obsessed with. That's one of my favorites that I make. And then I've been working on body butter,
Cool.
which is a little more tricky. So almost there, hoping to get that released in the next couple of weeks.
Exciting. So
Yeah.
fun. Well, I will definitely say proof behind your products just with the silky skin from the detox bath soaks and the scrub. I mean, you definitely just, your skin feels so good when you get out.
Yes.
It's so nice.
Love
And
it.
then I know you've got 3 different kinds. I know one is a lavender. I think the other one is like an orange, maybe.
Yes. So in Maryland, there is an alcoholic drink called a Crush. I don't know if you guys, I feel like.
I've heard of that before, only from being from North Carolina and
Yes,
Virginia.
I feel like, where you are, you might hear it too. But it's so funny. It's like such a big deal in the Baltimore, Maryland area. So basically, it's fresh squeezed grapefruit or orange. So Orange Crush is the original. And then they started doing like grapefruit, and then you can do lime, you can do lemon. So when I first initially launched Basic Girl, it was summertime. And that's kind of like where I was at, just that kind of summer mindset, all the citrus stuff. So I was like, oh, this is fun because it's like salty and the citrus, but it's like a fun twist on that classic drink that, is local to Maryland. So that's how that started. So
I
that is
love
like kind of
that.
the Crush line. And then yes, just the classic lavender, which is great. I have done some fun seasonal ones.
Cool.
And then with the body butters, I'm going to do a little bit more mixing of oils kind of to create more of like a scent that embodies like a feeling
Mm,
or a
cool.
certain place. So one is Tulum Spa, which was like a spa I went to in Tulum that I just like still carry with me because it was the best day ever. So putting that into the bottle.
I love that. Tulum is such a magical place.
It's so, oh my gosh, so magical. I'm like, how do I even get this into this little, body butter? But yes, that's kind of like what my vision is for the next year is kind of creating, mixing more, doing all of that, kind of creating like a memory.
Cool. I love that. Even
Mhm.
just the word saying Tulum, I immediately can like go there, feel it, smell
Yes.
it. It's like all the remembrance comes back. That's so fun.
Hmm.
What a cool idea.
Yeah.
I love that. With your essential oils and kind of adding in those scents and things like that, what is, for anybody who's maybe not familiar, kind of why essential oils compared to the alternative, like scents and kind of
Yeah.
not so natural ways?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I feel like with any perfume, you remember an old boyfriend when you smell a certain cologne or, a mom who wears a certain perfume. And I've always loved the idea of that. I'm like, I love how like a smell can bring you back, maybe not to the ex-boyfriend, not so much, but
Those weird high school colognes. There's a couple that
yes,
I'm like, oh God,
Abercrombie.
yes.
Yes. When you still smell them, you're like, oh God,
Yeah.
not him. And you run, right? So when I started switching everything over in my life to be more clean and substantial, that was something I was so sad about. I was like, how am I going to leave the perfumes and, some of the other stuff behind? But once I really started looking into it and like fragrance, what all that holds, it was just so disturbing. I don't know if you've ever seen Stink on Netflix.
Ooh, I have not, but I will probably watch it tonight now.
Yes, watch it tonight. So it's a documentary. So it goes into the perfume industry. Any label, anytime you see fragrance
Hmm.
or like perfume, that is a loophole for the company to basically pass it to get it approved. But that's their one little loophole. And in that one word, you could have thousands of chemicals.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, not surprised.
Yeah. So
Oh,
it's amazing marketing. So then I started realizing, I'm in Target looking like a crazy person, spending so much time just like flipping around all these bottles and the marketing. I'll grab a bottle like, oh, okay, it says it's clean, green. It says, they'll literally use one little, let's just say aloe, and it's like the 50th ingredient on the list, but they'll pull it up and use it as like their main marketing. Well, all about marketing. So
hmm.
you know how that works. It will say, aloe for moisturizing, yada, yada. And you look at the bottle and like the fifth ingredient down is usually like fragrance.
Specifically why I don't completely align with marketing for,
All makes sense. Yep.
yeah, many reasons. But
Yeah. I
wow,
mean, and I
that's
just
crazy.
realized I'm like, how are all these companies like tricking people? So a lot of it is education, which I definitely in the next year want to focus more on with social media
Cool.
and building a community and just educating and really empowering women to like start asking what's in this along with food. You totally understand like the food component to women's health and just, wellness in general.
That's what it was reminding me of. People will look at me with labels and some which completely respect them, but people will be like, "Oh, you're always checking the calories." I'm like, I could give a shit about the calories. I'm more worried about what is
Yeah, don't you
potentially in
love
this.
it's like that 90s like view.
Yes,
They think that like, oh, you're looking at a label, you're looking at the amount of calories. It's like, no, I'm actually just curious what's in what I'm eating
exactly.
or
Yeah.
putting on my body. Yeah, so I really started realizing that everything has the perfume or fragrance in it. And then I
Wow.
started getting into essential oils and just using them in my daily life, realizing like their potency, you only need a tiny little bit, and how powerful they are.
I love them. I use peppermint essential oils on my stomach for digestion. I've struggled with constipation and some digestive issues and have done a
Yeah,
lot internally as well, but just putting a little bit of that on helps tremendously.
yeah,
Essential
they're
oils
so
are so
amazing.
powerful.
They really are. And I don't think people really give them the time or, really try.
Yeah.
Just because I think it's hard when you're so used to something being a certain way, like when you're used to like a lotion and people are used to that like punch of whatever it may be, tropical smell in their face, it's hard to then give something else a try. But like now for me, like I'm so trained to just like have that simple, like light smell on me that when I smell that stuff now, I get a headache. But I think it's
Hmm.
just so hard because that's what they're used to, whether people have like grown up with it or whatever it may be.
Yeah, it's so hard. I even with like the scented trash bags, I get so nauseous and a headache from the smell
Me
of those. I
too.
can't stand them. Anything fake, I'm like, oh, get it away
Me
from me.
too. Funny story. I was actually literally just last weekend putting tons of stuff in those big black trash bags. They were like in our basement, I guess. We had gotten them previously. And I go downstairs in the basement. I'm like, what is that? And then I realized it was a trash bag. I was like, I could not believe the trash bag has like such a crazy smell to it.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
just fills the basement.
I know. My husband bought them on accident and I
Yeah.
was like, get those out of here. Like, can't do
Hmm.
it. Mm.
Yeah, you can only imagine. So, too, with the fragrances and all the chemicals, so there are a lot of ties with like endocrine disruptors. So that's been like my main focus too, being working as a fertility nurse, and it's very interesting, all of it. Like if you start to look it up, I found one study that was women that work at Bath and Body Works have a higher infertility rate, which makes complete sense.
Yeah, totally. I'm actually, yeah, just thinking of a couple individuals I used to know or was kind of friendly with and loved Bath and Body Works and struggled
Mhm.
immensely. I never made that connection
Oh,
before.
really?
Yeah. Interesting. Wow. Not surprised though. I love the fact that
Mhm.
you bring the blend of like the Western medicine side, so to say, with your nursing degree, and then kind of pairing it with more of these holistic and natural remedies. I just think it's so cool because you bring like an understanding of both sides. And then especially with like the female health element, which is so nice.
Yeah, I feel like medicine, it's a little tricky just because what I struggle with is it's a little bit fear driven. So, like me throwing that fact out, yes, is very informative and kind of eye opening, but it also, like, I feel like I have to be careful with what I educate on just because I don't want to scare people or like have it
Totally.
fear driven. I want to do it more from like an empowering, advocating
Yeah.
standpoint. So that's why sometimes I do struggle with what I want to post. I don't want to like scare anybody or make people feel like they need to like stop this right away and all of that.
Yeah, definitely. Always from a place of love, for sure.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I'm curious as we're talking about fragrances and essential oils and things, being a new mom, and I know a lot of our listeners are either new moms themselves or are getting ready to go into motherhood. Is there anything in particular that when either selecting baby products or clothing? I mean, I know this conversation can go so deep, but just like in general, maybe just looking at fragrances and things, is there anything particular that you've done differently there or that you're super cautious of, whether
Yeah.
through pregnancy or with your baby now?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely through pregnancy, having like skin be our largest organ. So anything that's been placed on my skin, same with what I've been putting in my body, eating. And then with her, with Olivia, I did a lot of research just because sometimes you're in a store and you need to grab sunscreen for her. Yes, if I need sunscreen, I do feel like, okay, I'm going to grab what I need if it's kind of like a last minute thing, but then I'll go home, do my research. If I use it once or twice, it's not going to kill her or I, but I do really, really try to purchase everything completely clean and organic for her. It is hard though, because even then you're still seeing different articles that come out, like this sunscreen causes X, Y, and Z. But there are really good apps, and I've definitely used them that will give you like a scale so you can determine like what you're comfortable with. And it will show things in the red, it will show things that are like more orange, yellow, and then green. And it will tell
Cool.
you like exactly what ingredients they are. that makes them like a little questionable. So then you can break it down a little bit easier to do your research. So then you can Google, okay, well, what is that one that's yellow? What does it mean? Is it a big deal, or are they just being like very cautious? What you're comfortable with.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's the main thing. I was going to give an example. So the example is draft, which I don't know if you've ever heard of, but when you get, let's just say you like sign up for a registry, a baby registry, they always give you like a little sample pack of things. Draft is always in there. So it is like the popular baby laundry detergent. And it has definitely like this powdery, like baby smell. So everybody loves it. So when I got pregnant, they're like, all my friends are like, oh my gosh, you have to try draft to make sure you get draft, yada, yada, yada. Well, draft is like the worst freaking thing you could ever buy. I mean, it's like red, 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 when you look up on this app. So just stuff like that. I think it's so hard when you hear things from other moms and you get advice. And then a lot of it's just really educating yourself, I think. And it's hard when you're a new mom because that takes time and that takes so much energy. And sometimes you're just not in that place. So that's why I think it's good to have like a community of like-minded women.
Definitely. Yeah, I think education is just so important. And we kind of mentioned intuition a little bit earlier when we were catching up before here. And yes. I would completely feel that intuition is just so key. And I know it can be so hard to listen to it sometimes, especially when everyone is maybe saying something different than what your intuition's telling you. But I've just found that the more we can connect to our intuition, it really will not lead us astray.
Yes. So I must say that's what I've really learned in motherhood. And even before that, when I was waiting for Olivia to make her debut, I'm like, what is going on? And a lot of it was just like, stepping out of just kind of like needing control and just trusting my intuition. And that's really that all motherhood, I feel like that's the best way, just to kind of lead the best example for my daughter as well, deciding what's best for her, knowing what to do next is all intuition based.
As humans, we want to naturally grow and to experience change. However, it's the fear of taking conscious action on these wants that keeps us stuck, keeping us unconsciously attached to an imbalanced life, attached to the habits and comfort that pain, suffering, fear, resentment, and limitations of our current realities provide to us. Whereas in reality, our true home, our real home, resides in a world of balance, a world we are aware of, yet also free of anything that no longer serves us. For balance is the key to life. Balance is the aim of all living creatures. We are all alive and living right now in this moment. Our earth is also alive. Our beautiful earth is mostly made up of water, and we too, as human beings, are made up primarily of water. Wherever there is water, there is life. And just as water must be kept in balance here on earth, we as human beings must also be kept in balance. After much discovery and witness to life's experiences, I created Ambu, a modern holistic wellness company. Ambu is a company designed to truly realign you on a mind, body, and soul level. Through my holistic wellness practice, my intention is to guide you to a more rightful and truthful way of living. A simple guide that complements and enhances where you are right now. Real change happens from within and is the key to not only transforming yourself, but your experience of the world around you. Together, I will work with you to uncover your why, adopt sustainable practices for long-lasting lifestyles, and expand to your fullest potential. Our lives, and especially the world of health and wellness, has gotten far too complicated over the years. Through my work with Ambu, I strip it all back to the beginning of time, back to the basics, in order to bring you full circle, not to a new self, but back to the essence of yourself, your one and only authentic self. Ambu offers a variety of programs and resources, each built with intention to target how unique we all truly are. All in all, a life well lived is a life that you are able to enjoy. It's time to rediscover your inner calling, your healthiest and brightest you that's been waiting inside of you for all this time. It's time to dust him or her off, and I'd love for Ambu to serve as your guide and accountability partner in this journey. So let's guide you back home to a life in balance through our modern holistic approach to wellness. To learn more, visit us at ambuwellness.com or connect with us on Instagram at ambuwellness, and let's transform together. I'm curious to hear how, because when we had connected before you had gotten pregnant, I know we were each on different pieces of our own spiritual journey and just continuing to connect deeper within ourselves.
Yeah.
Through pregnancy, I've heard from women just different stories of how the journey kind of evolves during that. I would love to know, if you don't mind sharing, different ways that, I guess, just what your spiritual journey looked like during that time.
Yeah. So it did take some time to connect to it, I will say. And it's so funny, for like the first quarter, if not almost half of pregnancy, you're like, am I pregnant? Am I not? Especially with your first, because it takes a little while to show. And until I really started to show and like feel her kick and movements, I was like, oh, okay, there is a baby inside of me. And I really started to get in tune with my meditations and just kind of talking and connecting with her. But it actually wasn't really, I feel like I still was not completely like stepping down. I was still trying to have a little bit of control until maybe like 2 weeks before she was born. And I totally needed this like switch. So it was actually, I feel like you have an April birthday, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, April 14th.
Okay, so I'm the 26th. And she was born May 17th. So just a couple weeks before she was born, I treated myself to do an energy healing.
Cool.
And oh my gosh, it was so powerful. It was completely life-changing, made me realize everything in pregnancy, motherhood, and then mainly my delivery as well. And that cued me to read a book called Spirit Babies.
I've not read that, but I am so curious about Spirit Babies. So
my God, you have to read it. It's a really quick and easy read. So you should definitely like download it right now if you have a Kindle or
definitely.
So that's what I did. I went and just downloaded it on my Kindle and read it all in that night. And
my husband's out of town this weekend, side note. So now I can watch Netflix. I can read this. I'm like completely, I love it.
Yes. It was super interesting. It put things in perspective because I had a miscarriage previously before I had gotten pregnant with her. It's just so crazy. Like basically this is like, the spirits are kind of just like in your realm and just like waiting to be called in. So there were times when I felt like super connected to her. And basically the healer was explaining, and the book also explains that they kind of like come down, they'll like check out in your belly, like, hey, what's going on here? Like, what's my environment? How's my room coming along? Like X, Y, or Z. And then they go back up and they're kind of like hanging out in the spiritual realm. And they are the ones I was thinking, oh, okay, I'll have sex. I'll have Mexican food. I'll go walk like 5 miles and get her out of me. But it's the spirit's decision to come down when they're ready, when, yes, you need to be ready as well. So I really had to like step aside and like let her take the lead. So yeah, she was like totally channeling through and saying like, it was so funny. And this is like so her personality, because she's a Taurus as well. She's like, yeah, I don't know why you think like this is your day. This is my birthday actually. So like you need to step down, lady, basically. So I was like peeing my pants in laughter because I'm like, oh my gosh, us two Tauruses, like she's obviously the boss here. I'm not the boss anymore.
That is so funny.
That
reminds me, we had an animal communicator come in and relay messages with our dog. Bad. Oh, you have to. It's the best thing and like the most hilarious thing, but it is their personality to a T. So
it all makes sense.
So funny. Anyway,
the most amazing thing too with the babies, you've totally had past lives with them before. So the medium was showing that we were angels in like a past life together.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. Super interesting. So we have like a very, very strong bond. So I'm super curious to see how things are going to pan out in our lifetime together.
And I mean, just such a prominent time for her to want to come in as well with everything going on in the world.
Yes. And it's just so crazy because it just shows how resilient she is. And I truly think she's ready to bring so much light and love to this world. It's super crazy. Even her entry into this world was nuts. So I worked as a labor and delivery nurse, and there's this thing they call nurse curse, where nurses just like all hell breaks loose whenever you're a patient and you're in the hospital. So, of course, everything, I wanted this natural, unmedicated pregnancy. No, I had, of course, the complete opposite of that. It was a very stressful delivery. She was like barely alive when she was delivered. She was completely blue and they had to resuscitate her.
Wow.
And she like turned around like that. So resilient. We had to stay in the hospital a couple extra days just to make sure she was okay, but she was completely fine, which is just incredible.
So amazing. Wow. Such a
Yes.
Taurus too.
Such a Taurus, such a Taurus. It's amazing. It's so incredible to watch her. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Wow. That is just so, so special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that. Would you do anything? Because I've heard of women who will even like meditate while breastfeeding, or in what kind of like, I guess maybe more like self-care practices did you kind of utilize as a new mom?
Yeah, well, I definitely made time for myself. That was like my one thing. I was like, even if like the house is a complete mess and this is going on, I had my mom here to help. So that definitely helped. But I was like taking like 2 baths a day because I was like, I just need this time to myself and just like feeling like clean. Like you feel so gross after you deliver. I was like, I just need to like feel clean and I just need to like shave my legs and put on some deodorant and take care of myself before I can take care of this baby. Like I was almost like, I was so nervous because you hear all these women that like normalize, like, oh, I haven't brushed my teeth yet today and it's like 5 o'clock, or my hair, I haven't washed it in 7 days. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, that sounds awful. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Like those women that just like
100%.
pride themselves on it. And I didn't want to prove them wrong. Like I said, I was nervous and I'm like, is that what my life is going to be like? But no, it's what you prioritize. And your baby can be completely healthy and fine with whether it's your partner or somebody else who's helping, whether you can afford help and have a nanny or have your parents. It literally takes a village, and you deserve that self care and your time for yourself so then you can feel good when you're taking care of your baby and actually enjoy yourself.
I love that. And then in that energy exchange as well, I'm sure your baby can feel that you feel better and that you are calmer and you're not as scattered. And just even feeling clean is so good, obviously, for the physical body, but like mental and energetic and emotional too. And your husband, I'm sure your relationship with him has also just felt more at ease. So I love that you did that. I think that is so just empowering for those listening and as a woman to know, hey, it doesn't have to be maybe the way others have made it out to be, that you can still create that, carve out that time for yourself, and just how beneficial that is.
Yeah, and we have to be selfish with that. And I mean, I'm sure you're the same exact way, or not same exact way, but I'm sure you've dealt with this where just so giving and so empathetic and you pour so much
Yes.
energy into others, and you have to be really careful and setting boundaries with that and being selfish. So just really, I did learn that you do need to prioritize yourself first before anybody.
Yeah. Such a beautiful boundary that you hold. I love that. I'm definitely going to table that for when my time comes because I resonate so deeply with that. I was actually just having
Yeah.
a conversation with another girl about just relationships and marriage, and how, again, it's put out there of like, oh, marriage is hard and marriage is this and that and all these things. But I'm like, yeah, but marriage can also be really beautiful too. Like, it can be loving and you can communicate and work with your partner. It doesn't have to be this like, oh, it's
Yeah.
so hard. So,
Same
yeah,
with motherhood. Okay, number one, my marriage is like the easiest thing ever.
same.
And so as motherhood has been, of course, I wouldn't say hard. I mean, there's challenging days and there's challenging times, but I feel like if you're in the flow of things and in your proper flow, then things are going to come easy. And yes, like I said, you have to have the support and you have to be able to ask for help. But I feel like if you have that self awareness and you know what you need as a person, then it makes it a lot easier too.
Yeah, totally. So we've spoken about baths a couple times now. I love taking baths myself. I think they are so crucial for our well-being. I would love to know for you, maybe just why you take them or in what ways you can kind of feel your energy shift post
Yeah.
bath.
Well, I've always been obsessed with baths. And it's so funny. I even tell Mike, my husband, I'll be like, I'm going to go take a shower. And I really end up always taking a bath.
Love it.
So then I created this quick thing that I call a shower bath, which is so silly. But basically, I just run the water from the faucet and I literally like throw it up on myself like I'm taking a bath. But it's something with like, I don't know, just being able to like lay down and like feel the water on me. I do just have such a shift of energy and just being able to like wash all of that off from like the day, whether it be like a hard day at work, coworkers pissing you off, and then
Traffic.
a lot of
Like,
physical stuff too, because yeah, like I had been a runner. So just kind of helping ease those muscles. So that's why I had gotten into like the Epsom salt and the magnesium. But that's like my favorite time to meditate. I feel like that's when I get a lot of my pings and messages channeling through. And it's just, I mean, even like going back to, you think that we're in the womb in water for 9 months. I think it all kind of just brings us back to that feeling of like just like hugged and like comforted and warm.
100%. Yeah, it reminds me of that so much of kind of coming like back home in a way to that womb space. And it's so grounding too. There's something about like knowing that the bathtub is like connected to a floor and you're like
Hmm.
laying naked, which when do you ever do that?
I know.
It's
Yes.
such a nice feeling.
My true dream would be able to like live somewhere where I could have a bathtub outside and I could just like lay there under a full moon maybe one day. But I do love creating a ritual around the bath. So for me, I'll do like a full moon bath ritual and a new moon bath ritual. And that's kind of something that I want to incorporate more into Basic Girl, which is really exciting. And just kind of have like a bundle to offer somebody with certain crystals, whether it be like teas, whatever it may be.
So fun. I know
Mhm.
when this episode will be coming out, it'll be closer to a new moon. What does your new moon and full moon rituals look different from one another?
A little bit. So definitely, with the full moon energizing, getting that burst of energy. So definitely having more like crystals associated with that. Same with the scents. So I'll do like more citrus stuff. Whereas new moon reflecting inward, whether it be like lavender, just kind of relaxing, flowery, rose petals, just kind of like feeling more of that like feminine beauty, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I love to do a really good scrub during a new moon too. Kind of that like clean slate energy, like
Hmm.
really getting that
Yes,
off
I
of there.
love that. And I'm all about dry brushing too. I don't know if you've ever tried that before,
Yes.
but I really like doing that before I get into the bath as well. And just kind of like helping the circulation and that detox process. So I'll have like some lemon water with me. I usually drink like a whole large mason jar of lemon water. And then if I'm feeling extra crazy, I'll do like a really cold shower after.
Yes.
But that's a little hard to build up the courage to do once you're like all relaxed in a warm bath, but it is super good for your circulation.
Yeah. It's so energizing too. It's so
It
hard to do
is,
it, but it
yes.
like
Oh,
snaps you.
yes. Oh, yes. You're like, where am I? What day is it? What's my name? Oh my God. Yeah, it will wake you up for sure. And then doing like a nice lymphatic massage after if I have time to do like a whole, night to myself.
Mm, so nice. So important. I know you mentioned kind of your boundaries with a mom. Do you do anything with kind of trying to carve out time for a self care night alone? I know you also have to balance date night with your husband as well.
Yes. Yes. I work on it. I will say that we do live in a small little house. So even if I'm in the bathroom, bathrooms echo and the sounds carry up through the vent. So I'll like really try to do things once Olivia is asleep because even if I tell my lovely husband, hey, can you do this or that and keep her down here for like an hour? He's somehow like knocking at the door. Oh, Olivia wants to see you, or Olivia.
Yeah.
Like,
They have
oh,
a radar.
yeah, or like texting me, where's this? And then I, of course, you just like feel like this pull, and you feel responsible if you know that like your kid is up and needs something, you like have to go. So a lot of the times, like I'm like half naked, wet, like
Yeah.
trying to help rock her back to sleep. So it is good when, they're out of the house completely or she's asleep. Yeah, but he's funny with that. He like still doesn't really understand. But that's okay. We try and we do our best. And a lot of it is communication too.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Life is not perfect. That's for sure.
Exactly. Exactly. Or I have two cats, one of them is always busting through the door, and trying to like put their paw in my water. I'm like, okay, can you, do you mind? But that's
Yeah.
just my life. And sometimes it's a little chaotic and we love it,
Absolutely.
Got to make the most of it.
100%. For anyone who's interested, where can people connect? Where can people find you to connect further?
Yeah. So definitely on Instagram, and that is at basic_girl_co. I am on Etsy, but the best way to find that link is probably just to go through Instagram and find the link there. You can get 10% off of your first order. There is a code in the Instagram bio.
So fun. I love
Yeah.
that. Well, Kate, this has been so much fun. But before we close out, I end all my episodes with some loving your own soul questions, which are just some kind of on the spot questions so everyone can get to know you a little bit deeper. So we've already said that you're a Taurus sun, but I would love to know, do you know your moon and rising sign?
Oh my gosh, I'm so bad with all of this. I have it written somewhere. I have to find it and let you know. Actually, it might even be in this book, but I will have to look. Can we skip over that one and go to the next one?
Yeah, definitely. We'll save these ones till the end. Do you have a preferred or favorite morning beverage?
Okay, so I do have a confession. Caffeine makes me super anxious. So I am having a hard time switching from that like habitual cup of coffee to tea. But I love like matcha. I feel like matcha is kind of like that in between for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it's just like my bull like headedness. I'm just like, but I want that caffeine kick. And then later on, I'm like, why did I do that to myself?
Oh my gosh, same. I also just love the smell of coffee. Coffee feels so like ritualistic to me that,
And the
yeah.
idea, yeah. And then if I like, let's just say I'm going to have like a tea morning, then my husband's like, hey, I just made coffee. You want some? Yeah, I do.
Right. Totally.
So yeah, just trying to balance it with, I do love the mushroom coffee from Four Sigmatic, or I'll do like CBD with it just to kind of help like take that edge off a little bit.
I'll
But
mix ashwagandha with it and it helps.
yes. Love ashwagandha. But I am also a huge tea person as well. And I'm obsessed with Manuka honey. So I'll always put some Manuka honey in my tea. And so I'll usually do like a coffee and then a tea.
Yeah. Love it. I love warm beverages too. They're so
Mm-hmm.
good. If you were a flower, what type of flower do you think you would be?
Definitely a lily.
I love that.
Love lilies, whether it be a peace lily, calla lily. I love all of them.
Yeah, same. Calla lily is a very special flower to me. I love them.
So beautiful.
Yeah. As an entrepreneur, is there a particular maybe lesson or experience that sticks out to you the most in your journey?
Yeah, definitely. I had made some products that ended up leaking. Their packaging ended up leaking. And I was so discouraged. I felt so bad and guilty. And that's just like me being the sensitive human that I am. And, it's not a big deal. I feel like I'm realizing there's going to be so many things that we have to overcome. And that's kind of like how I was saying earlier with being able to pivot and change things. I mean, you have to be able to like so quickly, just decide, okay, that's fine. We'll try this instead. And most people are very forgiving. So if you just explain that to people, I feel like they completely understand. So really just kind of, I think being authentic and real with people is the best thing you can do.
Yeah, completely agree. Do you know your human design type?
Yes, I'm a projector.
Cool. I was thinking you were a projector. I don't know
Really?
why. I have no idea why. I just something earlier you said, I was like, ooh, I feel like she's a projector.
Ooh, what are you?
I'm a generator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in business, we would actually work really well together in the sense that you would kind of bring more of the ideas and then I would be the one to actually initiate them and like make things happen. Is kind of my understanding of the
Yep.
two.
That's exactly with what I was explaining earlier. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, but just wanting to be in that flow and not wanting the procedures and
Actually,
everything.
yeah, exactly. Just years of just creating all these wonderful ideas and not putting them out into the world, or sharing them with anybody.
Totally. If you were able to jump on an airplane right now and go anywhere in the world, is there a particular place that you would go?
Oh, that's so hard. Yes, I would either go to Maui, which I love. Like I first said Maui, I was thinking Maui, but then I also love Puerto Rico.
Yes, I love Puerto Rico. That's where we were married in Rincon. Yeah, over on the
Yes,
West Coast.
Rincon is like my ultimate favorite vacation spot. I think I'm actually going to go back this October.
Fun. Yeah, it's so amazing.
I
I
know.
love
I
it
would
down
love to
there.
have a second house there if I could.
Yeah, it was actually the last place that we had been because of the pandemic, which is crazy.
From the wedding, or did you
Yeah, from
go?
the wedding. Yeah, we were
Oh
married
my
November 2019.
God.
Is that wild? And a lot of our guests too. Same thing.
The last time.
Yeah, wild
Wow.
times.
Mm.
Did you find your astrology signs?
Oh, okay. So moon is in Taurus. Did you ask me moon?
Yep.
And then sun is in Taurus. Was that the other one?
Okay. Yep. Do you know your rising sign as well?
Oh, rising? I don't.
That's okay. That's interesting. My husband he has a moon. He's a Taurus sun. He's on May 19th, but his moon is in Taurus as well, which is interesting.
Really? Yeah, I'm like a Taurus through and through. It's kind of crazy, actually.
That's
Yeah, I'll
so
have to
fun.
look up the rising though. I know I have so I'm really trying to get into astrology. So I've been printing stuff out. It's just trying to find time, even if I read through it, just like remembering it.
Yes. Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh. I'm
oh,
so
that I
glad
read.
you said that because I feel like that. It's like I have to like study it, which I'm not going to do, but it
I
makes sense in the
know.
moment. And then once I do
Yes. Or when
something,
people, yeah, I'm like, can someone break this down for me? That's something I would love to explore more this year. And hopefully finding somebody that can help me with all of that, just make sense of it. When you hear all of it, it's a little bit different than somebody who can then show me. I really want to know like how I can apply it then into my daily life and into my business and
mm,
all of that.
yeah, I want to be able to understand in my chart and like what's happening right now, how that
Oh my
lines
gosh.
up and
Yeah.
how they shift. Cause
Yeah.
I would
Probably not
love,
for like a few more years.
I know.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah, one day. Well, final question that I ask all of my guests. When did your exploration to diving deeper into your own soul first begin? And how has it evolved since then?
So I feel like with how we connected with the Balanced Blonde podcast, that's kind of when I started diving into everything. Oh my gosh. And it's just like grown so much deeper since then. And as I feel like, as I was listening to her podcast and she was kind of like going deeper into the more spiritual realm and astros, all of that, I kind of was like parallel. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like you were too with like exploring all of that. So it's just getting more and more woo woo and out there and freaky deaky every day. And I love it so much. And I will say though that I feel like my main thing that I'm like always coming back to and reminding myself is just like trusting the universe, which is like basic, number one where I started with like Gabby Bernstein was just like trusting the universe. The universe has your back book. So really coming back to that, I feel like, and trusting my higher self. I feel like before I expand out and like do all this research and reading and trying to connect with, other energies, I think it's really important that we know our own boundaries, trust ourselves first.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I resonate so deeply with that, especially that I just am so enthralled with all of it and definitely went out there in terms of like wanting to understand all of it. And then recently have really just been coming back home to myself and
Yeah.
knowing that these tools, these principles, these energies, they're all out there for when I need them. But right now it's really me, my relationship with the universe, which is kind of that like foundation. So
Yeah. And we have all the answers. I have so many times tried to go out and think this, doing this, that, and the other was going to give me the answer. And it never does. It's always whenever I tune back into myself and I'm like truly living in my flow.
same, even with food too. I've been playing around with that just intuitively of when I get lit up with goosebumps and when that happens with certain foods and honoring, okay, body, like that's something that you really want and really need right now. And that relationship physically has been really, really fun too. So,
That's awesome. Yeah. Just really slowing down and listening to yourself.
yeah, so important. So hard, but it's so important.
Hmm.
Well, Kate, this was so beautiful chatting with you. Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast and holding
So
space.
amazing. I love it.
Yeah, this is going to be so beneficial to so many people. This is
Yes, and
wonderful.
I really do, lastly, I really do want to urge anybody who has any interest to please, please reach out to me. I'm happy to chat with anybody, whether it be through DMs, a phone call, just to help educate, or if anybody's looking for anything like custom where they're not really sure where their skin is at, what's going on, I'm happy to like deep dive with anybody and help figure things out.
Oh my gosh. What a fun episode. Such just like girl talk of all different levels. Kate is the best. Highly recommend. Go check out Basic Girl, give her a follow, see what this wonderful individual is up to. And yeah, Kate, thank you so much for being here, sharing your story, and just being another beautiful soul and part of this community. And as always, thank you so much to all of you for tuning in, being a part of this community, being involved, following the podcast. It truly means so much to me and my guests as well. I know I can equally speak for them and say that. And I look forward to continuing the journey with you again soon.